It is 6:32 and I will call this city council meeting to order. It is January 4th, 2024. And I will start with roll call.
Mayor, can you give me a second?
Sure.
We're having a,
Reverb.
yeah.
Having a what?
You can hear yourself in the computer,
Oh,
but
But he's muted. And if we're not careful, that audio, there it is.
oh, it won't record, right?
Yeah, it'll get.
okay, yeah, we're good now. Thank you.
Okay, so I'll start with roll call. Mayor Pro Tem Villalobos, Council Member McLeod. Unmute.
Let me get them here.
Councilmember Styler.
Here.
Councilmember McGovern.
Here.
Councilmember Clinton.
Here.
And I'm Mayor Place. If you would all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I'm here.
Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And to the Texas, honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. And then for the invocation. Dear gracious Heavenly Father, thank you, Lord God, for the rain. And thank you, Lord God, for just the holiday season and for the gift of your Son. Lord God, we do lift up these two young people that had a bad accident. We just ask for healing for them, Lord God, and mercy. And Lord God, we just thank you that we do live here in this beautiful state of Martindale, Texas. And we do ask that you give us discernment as we go forward with making decisions tonight. And we do thank you for the gift of salvation. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. Okay. Do we have any public? I haven't gotten any. Okay.
Yeah, hold on.
Where's Mary Beth?
Yeah, where's Mary Beth?
I work because that's it.
Okay, so we'll start with a few reports. I just wanted to let you know that I went to the CapCog meeting on December the 13th, the day before our last meeting. And they mainly elected new committees and people to do things. And the special guest was Stan Gertz, and he was very, very interesting. And then one of the main people there talked about, the main people would be Judge James Oakley, about broadband throughout the state. And it was very interesting about what CapCog wanted to do to help the citizens of Texas get internet throughout the state. And then I went to the Gary Job Corps meeting, and that was really a lot of fun. So they put together this notebook, if anybody wants to look at it. It's all of the news articles about Gary Job Corps throughout all of 2023. And it was amazing. There are only about a dozen of us, and they were like from the Chamber of Commerce in San Marcos and Uland and just throughout the area. And they were also trying to do like what's going to happen this year. So you'll notice later towards the end of the agenda, I've put on there to pick the date for 4th of July parade. And also, what was the other one? That we asked for help from them because the parade and something else. Anyway, the cleanup. And so the last 2 years we've done the cleanup on Earth Day. Earth Day is always April 22nd, but I told them that we'd probably be doing it on Saturday, the 20th. So if we choose any other day, I need to let them know as soon as possible. So that's the report that I have for right now. So I will turn it over to Jared for his report.
Yeah, so another good news, we received notice that we were awarded a grant for our wastewater infrastructure improvements. I think the value of that's close to $500,000, right around there. This was something that worked with Freeland and Turk on the package that was submitted. It's going to expand some capacity at a treatment facility and make some upgrades at our lift stations. And so very excited that we got that grant. I think we applied for about 4 grants last year and received 3 of them. So we're doing pretty
Yeah,
well.
we're doing good.
And
I wanted to say something about that. So Adrian and I were here and Sid Miller himself called. It was about 4 o'clock on Friday afternoon. And I'm like, wow, I'm surprised you yourself are calling. And he says, well, I like to give away money.
There you go. Yes, we're very excited, very blessed to get that grant. We'll be having a kickoff for that here in the next week or so. And start working on it. So that's all I have for today.
Could you just say again what the possibilities of what we might do then? with
Yeah,
the grant?
once we have the kickoff, we'll come back with a more detailed list, but it included things like irrigation improvements at the treatment facility and some other things regarding our treatment facility and Crockett Lift Station. But unless, I don't know, Tom, you have anything else to add? That's basically what we're looking at doing, and then we'll come back with greater detail.
Crockett Lift Station is a generator and transfer switch, and some site improvements to allow trucks to turn around and go out once they come in. And then at the treatment plant, talking about a spare motor and pump, a header to expand the irrigation system in the future, and some site improvements to help us establish some more irrigation zones so that we can irrigate more water, expand the capacity of the plant.
On lands that we currently have not irrigated on or?
Right, we don't fully irrigate the whole site
Mhm.
because of our current capacity. We don't need to, but as more and more sewage comes in for treatment, we'll need more and more area to irrigate. So right now, the capacity of the plant isn't a function of the pond that's out there. It's got plenty of capacity. It's our ability to irrigate. So the improvements will allow us to more easily expand in the future.
And still use the same old system with sprinklers or whatever? Okay. Okay, thank you.
Any more questions? Okay, we'll move on to Judge Fusco's report.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
I hope everybody had a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And now we're back. It's good to see everybody here. I know I had submitted this report, I think on the 12th, but I'm going to be here to present it in person tonight. There is not anything extraordinary about it. It's consistent with kind of this time of year. You'll see that you have September, October, November, and then I'll present December on the next one. Let's see.
Don't we
Yes.
have December in the packet?
Okay,
Yes.
so,
We have.
Yeah.
It's date is December 12th, but it's a November report.
Yes.
Gotcha.
yes,
Okay.
that's correct. There are a couple of other things that will be going on, but before I talk about any of that, I'll take any questions that y'all might have about what's in front of you.
Yeah, so we currently have your clerk working Mondays and Tuesdays.
Yes,
And I think there was some talk perhaps of expanding her hours or.
Yeah, that was one of the things I was going to speak about.
What about having it, and I was speaking to another city council person about this recently, but what about having people pay their fines in a more modern, efficient way? Like online or,
Okay.
what about that? You know, we're sort of into this 21st century stuff now, and
Yeah.
people get tickets and
Yeah.
they don't live within 100 miles of here perhaps. And so then they have to come on certain days, Monday, Tuesday, or if they're not well informed, they
Yeah.
might come on another day. I mean, I've sat here before when people come and they can't pay, and it seems very old school to me.
Well, everybody uses online payment system. Most places do now, but you'll also find that everybody still has an open court. Okay. There are times that you're going to have that online system is just not going to be, it's not going to suit everybody. Like you said, a lot of people, are local. A lot of people aren't. But yeah, that is, to be honest, to eliminate the clerk's position, that's.
No,
I mean,
I'm just
just-
saying that we don't necessarily have to pay her to be here longer
Uh-huh.
if we had a more efficient way of paying these fines as is online,
Okay.
to where they could pay these fines and not have to rely on someone sitting here and
Yeah.
scratching it off on a piece of paper and.
We need somebody to answer phones and to give assistance and guidance and deal with things as they come in. I mean, you can have an online portal all day, but that's not gonna,
Well, let's have both then. Let's
Well, we do.
consider both.
yeah. I mean, both is the answer. Maybe I misunderstood you.
Yeah. I'm just thinking that it's just.
I mean, the workload is such now that we're talking about getting another clerk. I mean, and that was part of what I wanted to, that was one of the things I was going to touch on. First of all, well, as long as we're talking about clerks, we can just talk about that. And I'm not sure, did we have it posted?
It's not posted yet.
Okay, well, we're in the process of doing that.
It's on me, not on him.
We're working as a team here. We'll get it posted and we'll conduct interviews. And that will be several of us will be involved in that. And we're going to get somebody to assist with the increased workload and to kind of help with the fact that, Letty, it's hard being the only person here. Okay. And the work is picking up and needs some help in case she needs to take off, and people take off from time to time and get somebody trained. Additionally, she's not going to be here forever, so we want to get somebody good and somebody in and get them trained. As difficult as that is to find somebody that just wants a couple of days work, but we've done it before. We'll do it again. I'm sure we'll have, after the postings, we always have some fairly good candidates come in, and so I don't anticipate a real problem with that other than just finding the right person, which might take a little time. Excuse me. Let's see. The other thing I was going to talk about is we're going to be doing the warrants, our outstanding warrants that we have. We're going to be doing something of an audit, going through and verifying, and I'm going to be doing this, but going through and verifying. We've already started a little bit, and the numbers that I gave you last time we were here, I don't know, were terribly overinflated. I come to find out. I think I told y'all 1,500 or something like that. It was late. I don't remember. But the number from what I have right now is about closer to 500 or 600. Okay. And I want to verify that. And we're going to go through the existing warrants we have. We're going to take some additional collection measures, okay, up to, which is going to be just going through everything and sending out letters and trying to track people down without spending an unreasonable amount of time to doing it. We may involve an agency to help, but Eddie right now is going to be doing, and whoever we hire is going to be doing the bulk of that. Okay. And we,
Do you send out letters or how,
Yeah.
what's an example of an additional measure?
additional measures when you're people that don't pay their warrants, as you can imagine, don't pay their tickets and they go to warrants, as you can imagine, tend to sometimes move around a lot. So that's the hard part, is finding a good address or a good phone number. Okay. So when you, we like to send those out, be as certain as we can about that information and send those out. The audit I'm going to do is going back through everything and make sure that the state has holds on everything, because that's the surefire way that you get somebody to pay. Yeah, they'll blow you off, they'll move different county, different city, whatever, but when they go to get their license and they're like, whoa, then that'll get somebody's attention. So, that and then the use of an agency on a little. Okay,
Agency,
I'm sorry?
agency? Oh,
Yes.
collection
Yes.
agency.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And so that is what we're gonna be looking at doing in that. We also are in talks with the PD, excuse me, I'm sorry. Anyway, we've been in talks with Tommy and his office about the best way to provide them with the local support and assistance they need as far as, two things, actually. One is, setting up an on the road payment system. Okay. However, we're looking at a couple of different things with that. What is economically feasible? So he can pay, somebody, and the first part of that is being certain that they have a warrant, which means either old school manual or the computer tie-in to where you can look and say, look, man, you got a warrant. You need to pay it right now. Here we go. That's where we want to get with that. Okay. So we want to make sure that he's got the information that we have and that he is prepared to accept payment card on the side of the road. Because again, that gets somebody's attention. You'd be surprised who'll cough up some cash when they're on the side of the road and thinking that they're, we don't have jail, but I mean, you know what I'm saying. I mean, the officer's looking at you there and you got an unpaid ticket. Yeah, I'll pay it. Here you go. Here's my card. So that is what we have in the works. And I think that if we can get those few things accomplished and with the new court situation handled, I think we'll be in real good shape for the year. And so we're all kind of working together on separate aspects of that. And I expect that to make a big difference. Revenue wise, efficiency wise, record keeping wise, everything.
So how many months do you think that would take to interconnect with the police force, to update the warrants? I mean.
A couple of months. A couple of months. It's basically what I'm talking about with the PD is just finding the right system, or whether we're just going to go and he's going to have a computerized list. Okay. I don't want to do that really. I mean, I'd like to have something a little bit more modern. Okay. But it just depends. It's what he wants and what works best for the department and cost, of course.
It's sort of already what y'all have implemented already with starting us some new computers. We will have the technology. And trying to do that in the car. And then looking at what's available out there as far as a warrant service and then a warrant collection service that we could pay that and it goes right in and clears it. Because what you don't want to have happen is like the manual system he's talking about is I stop Kent and he has a warrant for his arrest.
You know he does.
And I know this. And then he goes down the road and gets stopped again. And then he's sort of stuck with that manual system. That's something you could run into. So we don't want to have that issue. What the judge is saying, you want to have that automatically removed from any kind of system so that it doesn't show back up again. And it like a regular warrant through the courts and everything else, or through the dispatch, you have a confirmation system. They send out a confirmation hit and they confirm the warrant, but they have to have a hard copy. There's a lot to go with that, but we can do it here locally without all that system and having to pay for that.
Yeah, and historically, and in the court, we have a certain part of our budget we can allocate towards and kind of share, and which I've done that in the past on different, or, expenses, to where they don't have to bear the brunt of it, that we just kind of split it, because it is kind of it serves us both. So, but as far as to the extent that the law allows me to do that, I do that willingly to, help with new expenses and stuff. And something like this, there will be some. I don't expect it to be anything, but it will be something. But that's kind of what we're going to be looking at, is seeing what the best way to go financially and practically from a getting it done standpoint. And but yeah, in a couple of months, the employee thing, that's what I'm shooting for. I'd like to have somebody in here and training 2 months, 60 days from now. And the other stuff, like I said, that's a reasonable time frame for all of it. That's the goal.
Well, I agree with Sam. I mean, I applaud what you're trying to do, and that's awesome. I do want to have an online payment system, because then it allows you that manpower to do collections.
Yeah.
Other than using an agency, if you've ever used them, they take a big chunk of it. So.
Yeah, I'm sorry, you're talking about an online payment system
So
versus
they
a
can pay
collection
it.
agency?
Well, I'm with Sam. I want an ability for someone paying a ticket, not having to call with a credit card over the phone and taking which is considered a very simple task,
Mhm.
taking up someone's time when they can pay the ticket. Just go online and pay the ticket, make it go away. Some people don't wanna give a credit card over the phone.
Yeah.
I don't.
No.
I don't give anyone a credit card over the phone. If they have a debit card, it's just a security issue. I much prefer, and I agree with Mr. Clinton, that we will at least have that, everywhere else seems to have that. We tend to be a little
I'm not
behind
sure
on that.
that what you said supports the conclusion.
I want,
You said you don't
because
wanna use a credit card.
I want to be able to pay a credit card online to pay a ticket. I
Oh,
agree. I want
But
to be
you
able to
wouldn't
pay.
personally.
I wouldn't do it.
No, not over the phone.
Not over the phone. I wouldn't do it
I
over the
got you.
phone. I don't like to give my credit card over someone
If
scratching
you
on a
can't
piece of
trust
paper.
just the corporate card number.
I don't trust anyone.
I know, I'm saying.
So that's where
Yeah, no, I agree. We're on the same page. I mean, that's,
I'm all for you going collecting bad debt, and that's where that extra labor can be spent. I mean, that's awesome.
yeah, no, I think we're on the same page then. Does anybody have any other questions about anything we talked about? Mayor, you look like you want to say something.
No, just thank you. Thank you very
Oh.
much for showing us these numbers that everything looks good.
Yeah, and then we'll have some more numbers for you, once the stuff gets going. And maybe I'll include something, a little additional information on the report, which shows where we're going with it. Just a little snapshot is what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
So when you hold court, let's say, and I've never seen it in person, so that's why I'm asking, are you sitting in this room holding court or how? I mean, I'm just saying this, my father was a court of criminal appeals judge for 18 years. He made over 1,100 decisions, the second most of
Texas?
any criminal court of appeals judge in Texas. So I'm very
The
familiar
Court
with
of
that.
Criminal Appeals here?
Yes, for three terms. And represented Jack Ruby, Madeline Murray O'Hare, desegregation of
That's a fine
UT
list.
dorms. And so I'm familiar with all of that, about the
We're not
appearance.
even saying all that. I mean, I'm disappointed. No,
No, about all sorts of aspects of
Yeah.
a judge, about the appearance of a judge, the clothing that they had to wear, a tie perhaps. I mean, I would almost love to see you hold court and see you
well,
wearing a
next time
tie
we're
and
here, you're
a.
welcome to come. You'll catch me in a suit and tie. And maybe, sometimes we're short. But,
No, he wears this suit.
I've never seen it
With cowboy
in all these years. No,
So you hold court here is what I'm
I'm
asking.
in our office.
In your
Okay.
office.
And
okay.
and depending on what I've got going on, sometimes I will be in there, and sometimes Mr. Wyman will be in there.
Okay.
Okay, and Letty and Kent work together and then handle everything, and if anything is contested or contentious or anything, decided, then I get involved. Bench trial is totally different thing. We haven't done one of those in a while, but I hope to soon. In which case we would have to change the room and we'd have a whole, flags and desks and council table and the whole production. Okay, but other than that, on just pre-trial days, we come in and we have a bunch of defendants come in. It's all, we just, we pick out a couple offices. I let Kent use mine if he needs it, if he's comfortable doing that, depending on what I've got going on. And we just, we all work together, all three of us, and everybody in and out.
So Kent gets paid separately out of the funds created from the judge, from the courts? Does the city pay him directly?
So I'm not an employee. Under the government code, the office of municipal judge is a separate legal entity. It's a court. It's Judge Snyder at the government center in Caldwell County is not an employee of the county per se. He is elected and is paid by the state. Well, Judge Fusco and I have completely different offices. I am the city attorney hired under the local government code by the city of Martindale. Judge Fusco is a judge of an independent office created by the city and appointed by the city under the government code. So I don't work for his court. I work for the city.
You represent the city.
Well, I represent the state of Texas as the municipal prosecutor. So we've been very fortunate since I've been hired that, well, for a period of years, we had low volume. flow traffic in the court, which made it easy to resolve essentially everything. I'd come down, we'd have a handful of tickets, and we get those resolved. Now, what we do have is a juvenile docket. And whenever the juveniles who've been issued citations come in for court, they are required to go see Judge Fusco. And of course, every time they do, he sees them, he talks with them, and then if there's any type of deal that can be worked out, it is. Recently, we've had a handful of people that have been more obstinate. And I think there's 3 or 4 cases that we finally had to tell those folks, look, come back, we'll set you for a trial, and we'll be ready to go. We'll have the officers there that day, and I'll put the officer on the stand, and they'll get to tell their story, and the judge will make a decision.
Okay. No, I don't mean to grill you about this, but we haven't seen you for a few months, and I fully have not really understood the process. So this does explain it.
All questions are welcome.
Okay, thank you.
And that's
I think
that's
that-
a pretty neat story. Yeah, that you don't,
Thank you.
yeah, no.
Okay.
If you or other council members individually have questions about the finances, I can walk you through that.
No, it's explained fairly well there. I feel confident about their procedurals.
But yeah, I mean, I can tell you that my goal is, I'm paid my hourly rate by the city to come and prosecute. And so what I always want to ensure is that there's enough cases on the docket to make it worthwhile for the city to pay me to come down here. If we've only got 5 or 10 cases, I resist against scheduling a court date, because we're not going to resolve enough cases to make it worthwhile for the city to pay. 20, 25, 30 cases, let's set them, let's get them on the docket, and we'll get enough things resolved where what's going to end up happening that day is the revenue that will be generated by resolving cases will far exceed whatever the city pays me for that day.
Well, and just so you're clear, you may know this, you may not, the people that come in the scenario that Mr. Wymore describes there, have pled not guilty, and by all accounts are wanting trial. And so, and you know, like I said, they usually change their mind after sitting down, and being explained why that's not their best interest, or, but that's who you've got here. These are all people that said, oh, you know, I want them to right to trial. So it makes us great, but.
One quick caveat, I will never tell a criminal defendant what is or is not in their best interest, because just to be clear, I represent the state, and whenever people ask me, my response is, I am not your lawyer. I cannot tell you what to do, but I can tell you what the options the state is presenting to you are.
And what your chances of being convicted are. Yes, no, I misspoke. I certainly did not mean to imply an attorney-client relationship with any of our defendants.
Wow.
Thank you.
It's good to hear.
But yes.
Take a shovel.
No, I think you've stated it right.
Is Mike still live? Is he still here?
I'm
Still here.
Okay, are you okay? You don't have any questions?
No, y'all have covered it pretty well. No problem.
And you're on vacation, so good. Thank you.
Okay.
Have fun.
Enjoy it.
Yes.
Stay a long one today.
Thank you, Judge.
Oh,
We really appreciate it.
No, it's my pleasure.
This is very informative.
Yes, we all have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move to 2.4, to our city clerk and the election.
Let us get to that.
Who's up? You're up.
That's,
You're up for the
so, hey, hi, everyone. Let's get to talk to the council. So we have an election coming up very soon. We'll have the agenda packets. All the agenda packets have the packet for being on the ballot, the next upcoming positions for the 2024 uniform election is councilmember place 1, place 3, and place 5. Very exciting time for Smart City Council. You will be able to receive submittals this month on the 17th. Place 5?
Hey, Adrian, Adrian.
Place 4.
Am I getting the
Yeah,
X?
you got
No,
it.
no, no,
Place
no.
4.
Place 4, place 4, thank you.
Okay, who is it now?
Place 1, 3, and 4.
He goes,
1, 3.
Thanks for that.
wait. That's my head.
That's
We-
1, 3, and 4.
At the end of your packets, you'll find the forms you need to fill out to be on this year's ballot. We'll be receiving applications January 16th. And
Those in the public who are interested, will they pick up ballots?
if you want to pick up a ballot or application to be on the ballot, you come by City Hall and you talk to the city secretary. We'll be receiving submissions again, January 16th, ending January 17th. In your packets is the election calendar that Texas Municipal Clerks Association does annually. It goes into great detail about deadlines and expectations, recommended deadlines, such as the notice of the drawing for the order of the ballot. We'll be seeing our first date for the election, or in-person voting is April 22nd until May 3rd, and election day is May 6th on a Saturday. If there's any questions, feel free to ask now, or you send me an email or come by the office. We're happy to help anyone.
Any questions?
It's all spelled out here.
If you will pick up ballots before January 16th.
No. Well, you can't submit your application until January 16th.
Can you pick up?
You
the
can pick up the
application?
packet.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
Starting tomorrow, but you can't.
Mhm.
Or you can get it electronically if you don't want paper.
The packets is about at least 60 pages. The complete packet is about 435 pages, but all the required forms are condensed in the end of this agenda. We'll be calling the election sometime next council meeting or the following council meeting. And later tonight's discussion, we'll talk about contracting the election county, if that's in the interest of the city council. But yeah. Well, that concludes my report about this upcoming election.
Okay. Then since there's no questions, we'll move on to 3.1. So about a year ago, we supported the company that wanted to do some renovations at the Martindale Apartments across Highway 80. And they didn't get the grant that they were going for. And so they're going for the grant again. And they're asking for a resolution of the support of the city of Martindale. And we did this before. And so they're hoping that we will pass the resolution again. If anyone would like to make a motion, we are ready to do that.
And for everyone's awareness, what this accomplishes for the Martindale Apartments is that they get a 9% refund essentially from the state. And they'll hope to use that 9% to make improvements at the apartments.
Did they say why they didn't get it?
They did not mention why they did not get it. But they weren't accepted last year, so.
What?
They weren't accepted last year, so they're giving it another shot. However, I believe his name is Alex. He didn't not tell me if the state provided a reason as to why they were not accepted.
I know, I think like me just as a council member, I would have liked to have known like, okay, like these were the reasons why, this is what we did to change it, rather than just reading a resolution,
Mhm.
just
So,
like going through the motion.
Alex did ask me to excuse him for not being able to attend today. He had a conflict in tonight's meeting, and he also encouraged that if council did not feel prepared to accept this resolution, they're not in a time crunch where they cannot accept it at the next meeting.
I would like to make a motion to table until they could come and explain or like give a reason and this is what we're doing different.
Actually, if you would give me 1 second, I think he actually gave us a presentation. I just,
I thought there was an email from him. I thought he emailed. Right.
Yeah, to the septic
Yeah, we
system.
just spent a bunch of money on it.
his
9%.
name is Robbie. I apologize. They're,
If this passes,
Yeah,
something about 9%.
seems.
I don't have it here, Sonia.
I made a motion
That makes
to
sense.
table until we got,
This is the guy who's doing whatever he is over there.
until they came or we had information.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
There you go. Moving on.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion?
When does this have to be submitted by?
This is a time crunch.
Let me find that here. Here says, has to be submitted by March 1st. Well, their full application. I found the presentation, by the way. If you like, we could read through the presentation, but I do believe Robbie could better explain his intention with this project.
I'll say like if we got that. Did we get that information?
No, this is not for the council yet.
So then if we could get that sent to us and then maybe we'll get the next meeting
Okay.
or on Zoom.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Okay, so the motion carries. Okay, so we're gonna now move on to the highlight of the night. To select a project with the $2.3 million. And I think we have some overheads to look at. And we had looked at these a couple of months ago, I believe, or about a month ago.
What? This is not it. Let me bring that back.
Yeah, that,
Starting on page 39, if you scroll down from there. If you want the map set 40.
Let me bring out the other attachments and then, but we can start with the most recent submission.
So city council recalls, we had a conversation, I believe in November, regarding a number of options to use this, this modification funding on. We looked at the bridge, for lack of a better term, down by the
Riverbend.
subdivision. And then we looked at the option of Quail Run, fixing the intersection or making some modification on the intersection of Quail Run, Highway 80. Also looked at doing additional paving work from where the Northwest River Road project leaves off up and through the Quail Run intersection. And city council at the time had an interest in the Quail Run project, but wanted to also include the culvert portion in that, and then want to take a look at how that was all going to be impacted by subdivision application that we were also considering at the time. And there's I think the other one that was high on the list, council at the time, was the bridge down on the river. So
They are. These options plus another one.
So we asked, hey, can we get another option? And so what we have here tonight is that other option and the rest.
So Adrian, I sent you by email. an
Yes.
Updated spreadsheet summary.
Correct. So here is the updated spreadsheet.
So just a little explanation on what I'm calling the Quail Run alternate. If you recall, the preliminary engineering report we did on Quail Run that was given to you in the November timeframe assumed that there were no improvements whatsoever associated with this subdivision. Just ignored it and said, if we had to do all this on our own, how much would it cost? And that's the $2.55 million figure there. The alternate assumes that the currently proposed improvements with the subdivision have been built by the developer. If those improvements are in place, then what would we have left to do? And that's what this new PER describes. So if you'll bring up that exhibit, Adrian.
The map.
And our timeline to make a decision on this, Mayor's March.
Yeah,
You're talking about this.
but that means
Yes.
we have to have it in.
We have to have
applicant.
it in by March.
So we need to make a decision as soon as possible.
So the improvements associated with the alternate consists of the improvements at the intersection of 80 and Quail Run, which is basically about a 200-foot right turn lane on Highway 80. And then that requires the existing box culvert to be extended. And then we have to construct some ditch improvements to get it to the proposed ditch associated with the subdivision. And then there's a couple of parcels of right of way that are needed to accomplish that. And then we would reconstruct Quail Run from 80 all the way down to just before Northwest River Road, which ties into the improvements that the developer is proposing. Of course, at that intersection, the developer is repaving the intersection, and he's putting in a couple of 36-inch drainage pipes and all that.
What is currently there? Is it just
I don't
one?
remember the size of the pipe, but it's an old,
It's just one right now, right?
it's just one.
I think it's like 3 feet because I went down in that gully and looked at it and I saw it. And then I saw the Martindale water supply line running exactly touching underneath the culvert. But from where the culvert is, there's almost a 7-foot drop to where the land is. So how, I mean, you could explain more about that later or whatever.
Can do the bridge.
Mr. Turk, I got a question for you. Can you
Okay?
hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes,
Hey, I'm looking at this. The only concern I have about the intersection of 80 and Quail Run, aren't we getting in Tech Stop's territory? They just put a light up there and they might possibly be putting a turn lane there. Do we want to get involved with that, or do we need to get involved with Tech Dot? Or do we need just to maybe eliminate the intersection and just do up to that intersection with Quail Run? You follow me?
I follow you 100%. That's a very good question. You do have some options here. This is a worst case scenario where the city of Martindale makes those improvements and donates them to the state. So you're essentially paying for some improvements on Highway 80. As an alternate to that, you could go to TxDOT and say, we really need a right turn lane. Will you build one for us?
We have in the past, and they said, not on a priority list. But then again, they put it in, and they went
They
and
just put a light in.
Put a light in without telling anybody, so.
Yeah, so it's a bit of an unknown.
I wouldn't say donate anything. It's not a wise choice.
One more point. The state's got a hell of a lot more money than we've got.
That's true.
And I mean, to me, logically, let's do Quail Run, but let's let TxDOT do their thing at that intersection. Maybe make it wider up to that point. But I think we should probably stay away from that. What do you think, Tommy? What's your opinion of that?
Did he run out
Is
with that?
He's
Tommy
not in the
around?
room.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's not in the
Oh,
room.
because I'm really concerned about TxDOT. They're their own entity, you know. So that's only an observation I can make.
Good observation.
Because we're in a budget crunch here. We can't do everything, clearly. So if we're doing the extension of the road, we can't
So,
do yeah, go ahead, Mikey.
This Mr. Turk, I don't hold you to it. How much money would we save if we just go from Northwest River Road on Quail Run up to whatever the easement of the TxDOT right of way is, say just widen it up to that triangle, what you showed, just stop at that point. How much money would we save?
You're really putting me on the spot. I don't have my detailed cost estimate. But it's probably
I wouldn't say.
in the neighborhood of 250,000.
Brave, you're brave.
Just so you have
Okay.
a number to toss around tonight.
Mike's gonna hold you to that now.
Más o menos.
Yeah, you definitely.
Ish.
I am concerned about the culvert that's currently there and how shallow it is. I also went up to 80 and Quail Run and looked at that 6-foot by 3-foot rectangular culvert that's underneath the highway. That culvert that's there is being used to siphon the water off those fields that are up there. And Lanzola owns that land too. And I think in a previous report, they said they were going to put a pond there. But I think we should make adjustments or accommodations or calculations based on the land that is currently feeding into that 6 by 3-foot culvert that is a field. But then if Lanzola is saying, okay, we're going to have commercial on both sides. So not only are we going to have the commercial from the north side of 80 feeding into that culvert, we're going to have the commercial on the south side, and that's a 20-acre plot there. And so I just don't think that that culvert can accommodate all the water there, because the 100 acres that Lanzola might even sell or whatever, they currently still own it. So they're responsible for the calculations that need to go in line with that culvert. And also, I did count all the hackberry trees in that culvert, and there's at least 25 hackberry trees. And I think you did say something in here about removing those trees, but then we start to get into this deep, deep culvert, and then you've got 11 or 12 driveways going over this culvert. I mean, can't we just encapsulate the whole culvert and not have a driveway and a culvert, which is a hazard for children? There's going to be homes there with children. We're going to have driveways with a deep culvert. How deep is that culvert going to be? 4 feet deep?
So
Or?
that's one of the longest questions I've ever asked.
Yeah, it's.
That was like a run-on sentence.
So let me,
Okay, the runoff from the field
Okay,
and the 6.3, the 6 by 3 foot culvert first, I guess.
okay.
Let's have one conversation.
Okay. You are exactly right. The existing 6 by 3 culvert and our extension of it is fully undersized. But we are falling in line with the improvements that the developer is being required to make as per the current subdivision preliminary plat process. And so I'm tying into a conveyance system that they've designed for a particular storm. They're really not upgrading, so to speak, the conveyance systems. They're to any kind of elevated design criteria.
Which they should do.
I mean, we're essentially going to be tying into 2 36-inch pipes down there at Northwest River Road. So,
Well, there's one there now. There's only
yeah,
one.
so they're improving that, yes. But we're assuming that the extension of the 6 by 3 box culvert is in line with the design frequencies that they're using for their subdivision improvements.
But that's only for the subdivision between 80 and Northwest Road.
I agree with you.
Okay.
Again, this project is very much tied to subdivision project. They are almost one and the same. They're very connected. And that's a very important consideration while you're making decisions on this project. To come up with a culvert that's going to be adequately sized for any modern conditions, to include any improvements that occur upstream, it would have to be a multiple box culvert, and that's reflected in the first PER. We had multiple box culverts.
Yeah, and they took up the whole budget. It was beyond the budget in retrospect. I mean, I understood why you did that. I obviously I don't want to spend money when it's really the next developer's responsibility to get the water to the river.
Yeah. And another thing, at some point in time, probably way in the future, TxDOT is going to reconstruct 80, and they'll put an adequately sized culvert in there.
Yeah.
Oh, they're done. You just have to wait.
Real quick question. One comment, guys, real quick. Can you hear me?
Yes, we're waiting.
Yeah,
for you.
that's why I'm saying let's don't do that culvert there at 80 and Quail Run, because we don't know the future, and let TxDOT pay for it and see what type of culvert we're going to need in the future. We might put a 36-inch in, and then 5 years from now they're going to have to rip it out and do it again. So I think that's another point, not going all the way and deal with that intersection. That's my personal opinion.
Well, I just think the culvert, as you're showing it, based on the runoff from just that piece of land there, isn't enough, because we're gonna have all the runoff from the 6x3 culvert underneath the highway, draining that field that they own. And yet we're gonna spend all this money on this from this grant, and yet in 5 years, it's gonna all be torn up.
I'll also make the comment that, and I was just telling Jared this, everything on the east side there is for sale as well, and it's all gonna be commercial. And I mean, in the next 5 years, something's gonna happen on that property. It's just how it's working. So just knowing that there's gonna be ingress, egress, something's happening on Quail Run. So, I mean, it's good to have updated roads, but maybe we need to reevaluate.
Well, we have some other options too.
Well, the last meeting, we basically said options 4 and 5,
Right.
total the money.
Right.
You know what I mean? They basically ate the budget. It was clean. I mean, I understood why you proposed this, but I agree with Mike. I don't want to improve the highway. As dangerous as that is, I never turn right there for a reason. I mean, anyone who does is, whatever. Got a higher risk factor than I do.
Did it twice today.
Yeah. Well, you're young. But it's just great. It's a crazy turn, and they should fix it. We shouldn't be fixing that. And they're going to fix that road again. And the road's not torn up yet. The corner is. That's still been my issue is that corner. Like, we didn't take that corner to make the right. Hopefully they will fix that themselves to some extent when they repair the box culvert, because they're going to have to. So hopefully they will fix the rounding of that a little bit themselves. But options 4 and 5 equal the budget almost dead nut.
Perhaps we can go back to TxDOT, better informed, with a little more persistence, and see what they might do.
But like, even if, say like, if we didn't even do anything to it, right? If we just said, okay, we're just not even gonna think about it. With the developers going in and the driveways going in, wouldn't the developers do something anyway to that? Wouldn't they have to?
So the developers are, as I recall, dedicating some right of way, but they are not making any improvements to Quail Run per se. They are putting in some ditch improvements, some utility improvements. And as you mentioned earlier, that they'll have a driveway going into each one of those lots. And I believe we have comments pending that ask them how do they plan to approach that, because you have a lot of water crossing these driveways. Are you going to have culverts? So we've we're actively trying to seek that information and work things out. Good question.
And they
So
pulled,
that's
they pulled their
something-
subdivision application because of the comment.
So
Oh, they
then that's
did?
something that it's like we're taking care of for the developer, which they're gonna be putting in driveways anyway, and that's not something that we have to figure out as a city and
That's
use the money as a city. That's something that they have to figure out as developers and as development. And Sam, like you were saying, well, how deep are they gonna be? There's children, yeah, that's something that's really great for the developers to think about. That's not something that we have to worry about as a city.
I agree.
Because they're the ones that are doing the development, not us.
Well, who's responsible for removing all those hackberry trees in the culvert, in the right? Is that a right of way? Is that our right of way? Or who's gonna remove those 25 trees that are this big around?
So as I understand it, those trees are mostly along the fence line. There's obviously some in the right of way, and I'm sure there's a few on private property too. But based on the ditch improvements that will ultimately be necessary there somewhere in time by somebody, those trees will probably have to be removed
All
and
of them.
possibly mitigated, just depending on who's responsible for doing it.
It's gonna come out of the parks.
We're gonna turn it into a
You want,
park.
you want some seats? You know, some clothes.
But the trees have been soaking in the water and all that. I mean, I'm just aghast at how much water is gonna run off from all of that. A lot runs off now and it's just fields, and then we're gonna
Well, there's
have all
gonna be
this
two, there's gonna be two 36s instead of one, so that's
at
good
the end.
at the end.
But I'm worried about it overflowing out of the culvert and going on to Quail Run.
That's what they're dealing with the developer. That's their responsibility.
If he's pulled his application, then the alternate is not a viable.
Yeah, it's not
But-
an option.
They've only extended the date to be considered again, regarding Gary's notes.
But
Hopefully we'll have the meeting
to make it all
scheduled.
work, the improvements are married.
Yeah.
They all have to be done to make it all work. So, for that reason, I think it's a tough project to select, just because of the dependency on the developer.
How about then option 5 with the culvert in front of the Indian Springs?
What about,
Let's talk about that.
what do you want to know?
Huh?
What do you want to know?
I want to know, I think it's 1.7 million.
That's correct.
And so there's some really big hackberry trees there on the on the subdivision side. Big, huge trees, but you're going to be annihilating, of course, the whole culvert, all the trees, taking some land from the people that have that mobile home there, right? A small piece of land?
Right away.
I wish I had my sketch in front of me.
So, I mean, because I don't think we're getting a lot of.
Do we have those sketches, Adrian,
I didn't bring one.
From
November.
from November,
Yeah, I do.
from
It's that other link, yeah, it's that other link.
at Riverbend Road?
Here is.
Yeah, I think we're not getting a lot of agreement on the Quail Run thing now, and with us having a master plan coming up for the city, I'm not very favorable, as some of us were, about Fannin and Crockett Street. I'm just,
I thought we gave up on those, yeah.
okay, good, so we've reached that, so now we're almost at,
No,
I was looking for the one on the,
On Northwest River Road, at Riverbend,
Oh, okay, yeah, that.
at Riverbend.
so
Yep.
to address your annihilation,
about which one?
Your
annihilation comments. So we are dealing with a ravine. There are a lot of trees down there, and there's some nice ones. And there's going to be some tree removal. It's impossible for me to say at this point which trees and how many.
Honestly,
I
if
just don't know.
there's tree removal, it's a good thing. Because that area the canopy often gets overgrown right there, and it's difficult to manage. It impacts businesses in the community. It's impacted the city in getting deliveries of certain equipment, goods. So if the trees are backed up away from that area, it'd probably be our benefit.
Yeah, there's a big hackberry tree there. It must be at least this big around on the Indian Court side, almost right up against to that concrete wall that's there.
Are you concerned about the hackberries because they're part of a heritage tree protection?
No, I'm saying they need to go.
Oh,
No,
You
that-
want to
it's
annihilate.
annihilation of the hackberry.
Sam, how would you do it? How would you do it?
Get a bulldozer and just push it over,
So-
maybe.
So your question on right of way, I do believe we would need a narrow strip of right of way, from both sides of the road. Or, 10, 15 feet, something like that.
Wow.
And I know that's a big deal, but we're trying to do some improvements in a very narrow right of way, and we need room to work and get things in there, so. Yes, there will be some right of way acquisition.
that has the potential to impact one of the dwellings that's on that lot.
Yeah, I went by and spoke to them about this and said that this is something we're considering. I went and knocked on their door and said, we're talking about this tonight.
There we go. There's a good picture of the right of way
Yeah.
that we need in red.
Whoops.
And then the blue is drainage easement. And that's for maintenance purposes, for
And
construction and then long-term.
How has that not been flooded before? I mean, that's
What
happened.
was it?
there were duplexes there that
I know about the, yeah,
totally
further
got
down, yeah, I
flooded
know.
out.
How those got be allowed to even still be there at this point is a little confusing.
Those structures are a continued non-conforming use.
Non-conforming, yeah.
So,
The trailer park you're speaking about,
yeah,
because it's zoned commercial?
No,
no, it
No.
is zoned residential and it's multiple dwellings on a single lot. And
Oh, it's
it
R1.
violates a number of areas of our zoning.
I
One
think it's some
R1.
mixed use.
no.
Huh?
MU.
One of them is and the other one is not. One of them is and one of them's not.
Mixed use.
Yeah, there's two non-conforming properties in that area that happen.
That's
One access is 80, one access is River Road.
Well, there's no way to widen this because it's a structure, not a bridge.
We have to look at it. And we don't talk about, this is a road, the road, it narrows to a a conforming, using that word, a non-conforming width. It's way too narrow. It's way too
And
narrow.
it's cracked, if you remember. It's
Structurally,
cracked.
you said this is one flood away from,
I didn't say that. I didn't say.
you alluded to,
I didn't say that.
one flood away from,
We have not had any, we've talked about having someone come out and do a structural analysis on it, but given the expense that would take
Yeah.
and the pending decisions here, we decided not to do that about a year ago. So there's visible cracking that we can see.
Yeah.
But we haven't done an assessment on the integrity of this.
what other projects would we spend money on other than the, options 4 and 5 to get to the value of the 2
One of the things we looked at very early on was a multiple use evacuation center.
Yeah, but we talked about that.
But the cost of that would probably have been closer to $3 to $5 million. And
For something that was small. too.
I have a variation that you might consider. Can you bring up the summary again?
The
Summary.
Summary?
The Excel spreadsheet or?
Yeah. There you go. So project number 4. We have $740,000 there to do about 2,200 feet of Northwest River Road from the S curves to Quail Road.
Yes.
If we're targeting, what are we targeting total project?
2.375.
Okay. You could probably get a total of about 7,000 or 8,000 feet of road. So you could keep going from Quail Run towards 80. You won't get there, but you'll get a long way. You could add another.
On Quail
5 or-
Run
We
itself?
still, we still have a bridge issue at some point.
True, but you could stop at the bridge and pick up after the bridge. You don't have money to do the bridge. You could go another 5,000 or 6,000 feet with that money
On Northwest Road,
on Northwest.
from
Road.
Quail Run to, no, from the S.
Takes you almost to Nelly? Am I saying that right?
Yeah,
Something to think about.
Also, Mr. Turk, if we got away from that, just did partial Quail Run and did away with that intersection, that'd give us some more money also to extend Northwest River Road. Correct?
I think you're trying to trick me. Say that again?
I said if we did not do the actual intersection at Quail Run and 80 and just did up to the TxDOT easement, stop there, then we'd have extra money to extend the repaving of Northwest River Road, correct?
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
Another 250,000 according to.
Yeah,
Mr. Turk.
300,000 savings. You can take that and take Northwest River Road a little further.
Yeah.
You can probably
Okay.
get the asphalt crossing.
mhm.
I
Okay.
say we don't go any further than tubing companies. Or they're just gonna eat the road up and it's just gonna be destroyed anyway, so.
I agree.
That's another way, man.
Got you. I got you, Mike.
Got your back.
Yeah, I think based on, we're waiting to hear more from the Lanzola or the subdivision on Quail Run. I'd almost rather wait on Quail Run completely. And really, based on what we've heard from what we did on Northwest Road about the innuendos about who lives on that street and why we did it, I'd almost rather keep away from Northwest Road completely in that section and do that culvert, because that's where we have more families that connect with the percentages of the incomes that is based on receiving this grant. Because if we just extend Northwest Road from Quail Run or up there, it's gonna all be through all those homes, and we're gonna completely go through the whole thing that we've been going through about the improvements that we've made currently here, about the accusations of not being low income and all that stuff. I'd rather just do the culvert at the.
I mean, it's pretty easy to go through all the streets of Martindale, thank God. And then you think about the jobs that we can do, and we realize that we can't do anything within this grid of the downtown area because it just doesn't fall within. I mean, we're just eating too much land up of the landowners with what we need to do with the grant itself. So it's hard to figure out exactly what needs to be done. I think I was just telling him I feel selfish because it does go in front of pretty much all of our houses, and I don't like that. I would like it to go somewhere else in the city, but it's hard for me to picture a different process right now.
Well, this is the main artery though.
Sure, yeah. It still doesn't negate the fact that it affects all of us on council.
And we went through that before.
Yeah, I know. And it's just like, it seems like we could allocate this to a whole different project, but it just makes sense that if it fits the budget and we can make it happen, and we don't want to tear up Quail Run because we don't know what the future holds with Quail Run, then, I mean, should we go back to the drawing board? But it doesn't sound like we have enough time for that. No, so.
Maybe one more meeting, but we really, it's gonna take time to put the application together once we make a decision.
I'm still sold on doing 4 and 5, doing that the way you presented it last time. Fix that bridge. I mean,
Make a motion.
Could we see 4 and 5 again?
Bring this Sunday back up.
4 and 5, I think we're about $100,000 short, but we have, because we just got this new grant that's doing the lift station stuff, a lot of the money that we were going to use out of the ARPA funding for that effort is freed up. And so I think we'll be able to cover that funding gap.
Yeah, and it's an estimate too, so we,
Yeah, it's
you
an
know,
estimate,
yeah,
too.
it could be, that's what Tom, we were talking about that last time. Some of these things are, if you're close, you're close.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're
Can you
gonna
bring
be,
the summary up?
We can make minor design changes at the time
Yeah.
to adjust for the cost.
yeah, he could reduce the
All right,
number of, we talked about, instead of having 3, doing 2 underneath that.
Northwest
I think we
River
can do
Road, as
five.
per,
Doesn't save a lot, but
you could do
Couple
five.
$100,000.
Do 12 lane road to 10 lane road.
Northwest River Road,
Exactly.
average.
Exactly.
You do 5, not 4 and 5.
Why not 4 and 5?
Is there, what do we have? We have 2.3?
2.375.
I think that's,
So
what
2.5.
I was, I'm sorry for the crosstalk. What I was explaining is, we're, on the estimate, we're about $75,000 short. I think the city council should consider the fact that we would be able to support that extra cost with our ARPA funding that was going to be used on some of these lift station improvements. That's not what we covered on another grant. We can transfer the use of that funds onto this. And 75,000, we, even after the computer purchasing that we're doing, we still have 60 something in our long-term capital improvement fund. I'm pretty confident that going forward with that plan, even though it's short on the grant funds, we can pull our own funding into this to make it work.
Yeah, keep in mind, we're dealing order of magnitude cost estimates at the
Right.
time. For decision-making purposes. We're being conservative.
Are we?
Yes.
Is it conservative?
We've got contingency in here, plus, I'm just trying to be conservative because, I'd rather be high now than low.
Yeah.
So we're talking, at the worst case, if my estimate is right on the money, you're talking $100,000 out of your pocket. And over time, we could probably whittle that out.
Option 4, do you have to take any trees out? I mean, we should, yeah.
Big old hat.
There,
That's what I was describing earlier. It's going to be for the benefit to improve the thoroughfare through there because the canopies from those trees are really impacting
Yeah.
traffic in that space.
that's 5. I was thinking of 4.
There's no tree, there's
No,
no tree
No,
acquisition.
Because it's all yard space there, right?
There's no trees. I went over it. We asked that question last week.
I think you bring up my exhibit, I think we have all the significant trees plotted, and I don't think any of them are affected.
No, there's some cleanup. That's,
Maybe some hackberries along the fence line, but nothing here.
there's not many crappy
Yeah, there you go. I
Close.
don't think they're affected.
There's not any, because the fence line is way off on all that property.
You have more right away here to work.
There's plenty of right of way there.
But we should be good to go on the trees.
I make a motion that we approve options 4 and 5 for the GLO mitigation bond grant.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any more discussion? Okay, hearing none. I'll call for a vote. Sonia, how do you vote? Aye. Sam?
Aye.
McLeod, how do you vote?
Aye.
Okay, so the motion carries. All right, thank you, guys. That was tough, but we did it. Thank you very much for all your extra work, and that was good. That was very good. Okay, we'll move on to 3.3. Motion to accept or deny ordinance number 2024-01-4, amending chapter 150.006, permit application filing fees. And Jared and Adrian have worked really hard on this. The state passed some laws that we have to comply with. Thank you. And so they've been working very hard as to how to interpret those laws. And we really need to pass something tonight so that we can still continue to do building permits.
Yeah, one of the key kickers on this new legislation is that if the permit fee has not been reauthorized or approved by the city council, that it is no longer in effect. So,
Okay,
so right
Yeah,
now,
so the pressure's on.
Our set fees are, would, if challenged, not withstand the scrutiny against that law.
Okay.
So, this is really for us to come into compliance, establish fees, that we believe are matching with the law requirement.
and these are the maximum we can charge, basically, now it's all controlled by the
Yeah, so
legislature.
some of the features, if you want to scroll down on what you're sharing there, Adrian, this is the, oops.
Oh, scroll down.
Yeah, it is it basically goes through, there's on page 2 of what is, or if you're following along on your iPad, it's going to be on page 52. The top of page 52, lines 3 through 9. The law basically says municipality may consider these 3 factors in setting the rates. Without getting too far into the weeds, and at some point we may need to defer this conversation to our attorney and work through some of the impacts of this, but really that, in a sense, what they're saying is you have to have some basis for your fee. You can't have arbitrary fees out there. You know, I'm not aware, the city of Martinville definitely wasn't doing this. Maybe the legislature was responding to egregious, unreasonable fees in other municipalities, but basically, as you have to have some basis for your fee. And what we're doing is we're basing the fees in the draft ordinance that you have in front of you tonight on our contracted fees and then our reasonable assessment of time and hourly rates for a fully laden employee cost. That was our approach. There's some wrinkles in here that we might need to get to, but that's the gist of it.
So then like on here, like our building official,
Yeah,
who's our building official?
technically I am
And then who is our zoning administrator?
also me.
So
But-
you would be the ones going to go do the inspections.
No. So,
Bureau of Veritas does
so
inspection.
what,
Subcontracted out.
so if you're referring, the building official and zoning official are the 2 officials, if we had those staffed, that would be involved in reviewing applications for any sort of development. One's for compliance to the zoning, one in plans, one's in terms of compliance of construction code. What we have and what you might see in on table 5 in the draft ordinance, which is on your iPad page 49, we established a fully burdened fee that's based off of my currently hourly rate plus, employee related taxes and a very small amount for capital fees required to put the position in effect. So Table 5 is responding to one of those items that the legislature said we need to do. If we're imposing fees other than costs incurred or market rate, you have to provide this level of detail.
So then whenever Bureau Veritas,
Yeah.
whenever they're doing that, is their price reflected in this?
Yeah, their price is reflected dollar for dollar in tables 1 and 2 and 3 and 4.
They also have
The
search.
other costs, other than the Bureau Veritas, are reflected in tables 5 and table 6. Right.
So you would issue the permits yourself personally?
What we want to do is we want the city officials responsible for those actions to maintain authority over the decisions that are made regarding those actions. So I don't think it'd be proper to contract out the decision-making of those things. So I don't want to say, if we get an application, a land use plan application or something, and we, on a cursory review, know that it would violate our zoning, send that to Bureau Veritas and have them approve the construction plans. And now you have a conflict between zoning and building. Or even if we had Bureau Veritas, if we paid Bureau Veritas, they do have a contracted rate for plant zoning reviews and zoning administration, a lot higher than ours. But even then, if they make a zoning determination, the city staff, professional staff, may have a different perspective and interpretation for considering that. As you know, our land use table, our use table right now has a lot of wiggle room and is open to interpretation a lot. And in order to maintain consistency across, we're going to want the staff to make those determinations. So even where we can outsource these costs to Bureau Veritas and have them do bulk of the work, there's still some decision-making aspects that the staff do. Or really where that's being done now is the mayor is making a lot of those determinations in my
And
absence.
Adrian, we work together.
Because I'm making part-time.
Well, I think the mayor is really busy doing all of the other things that a mayor does, and to have her, even though she's learned a lot about the building permit process, I think it's too much for a mayor to do, and then it wouldn't envelop into other things that might rise about. I think an independent person should work on that is issuing the permits, because then there's no underlying conflicts that or assumptions that.
So
that
right
could-
now, what's working, it's working pretty well for us. Adrian does subdivision, and he's been working with Freeland and Dirk, like on the subdivision things. And we all kind of work together. We don't really work independently. And if it's like, oh, I need to put a new roof on my house, then that's real easy to determine and give a permit for.
Yeah.
If it's to build a whole house like Joe Pinelli did, I mean, we submitted that went to Bureau Veritas, to their plan review department 3 times. And they were very, very helpful. And they interpreted our ordinances. And that's what happened the first time it came back, was that they felt that our ordinance, it was a R1 and he wanted to build a garage. So we kept working together until we got a structure that worked for Mr. Pinelli and also worked within our ordinances. So when we work here in the office, we're not working independently. It's not just me making a decision or Adrian making. It's on Mondays, if you were in here with us, we are working so hard. But tonight, what we're here to do is we have to pass an ordinance about the fees, and that's what we're bringing to you. It's not the individual work.
So in the example where we had one of their plans reviewers look at this, under this table, that would come out at table 6, and that would be part of the other direct costs. And what we're doing there is we're including a contract access fee or contract administrative fee for those actual costs incurred. Now, that might be something where we'll need to get some legal advice on, maybe in an executive session if needed. But the intent there is cost the city money to administer these contracts. They're going to straight contract costs. Probably makes more sense.
You're talking about table 6.
Table 6. And the fee structure that has a 10% over
Page 50.
an additional fee over the actual cost incurred.
So right now, you don't have a lot of charges for a lot of stuff right now. It's kind of like.
We're working on our
Oh,
old charges till the end of the year.
We have very basic charges, I think are we value based right now?
Yes.
Yeah, we're,
Find it on page 48. There's a red chart, which
Yeah.
is basically our fee structure for a lot of our permitting.
Yeah.
If I might add, this also doesn't only address building permits, it also addresses engineering services, inspections of public infrastructure, and subdivisions.
And what about, Adrian, like the fee, whenever they're having to tear up the road in order to put the lines, and then I know we've had a discussion a couple of times, well, who's paying for it to be recovered, and is that reflected?
Wastewater.
Yes, that's that public infrastructure improvements inspections.
so one of the things that we're going to look at in addition to this, we still have plenty of other fees that need to be relooked at, like our development application fee process and other things. That's not covered in these tables just yet. We've been using operations where the city does the public improvements. And Adrian and I believe that maybe these public infrastructure improvements, putting in a sewer tap, should not be a city contracted item. The only thing that city is doing is inspecting the work that's done. And so the person making that improvement are responsible for hiring their own plumbing company to plug into our sewer, gravity fed sewer systems and doing the road recovery, instead of it falling into a big giant donut hole where I gave you a deposit of such a small amount, you need to go contract for it, handing that off to our wastewater operator, saying, well, that's not my job.
Mm-hmm.
As we saw.
So what we want to do is get to a point where we're paying only for the inspection of the work they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
That's, that way, because they have the vested interest in making sure it's done fast. We have the interest in making sure it's done right.
Just so I'm clear, Exhibit A, beginning on page 46, is the first page, and then 47, 48, 49, 50. That's what we're proposing as the new ordinance, correct?
The
Evaluations.
there's a little bit of change to, basically,
Okay.
The Exhibit A is the new ordinance.
So the biggest issue that I see is that, is two things. Chapter 212 of the local government code applies to municipalities. Chapter 232 applies to counties. So we're only looking at 212. But if you look at subsection D, what it says is municipality may not require the disclosure of information related to the value of or cost of constructing or improving. But what's proposed is predicated on the project cost. So I think that presents a problem for us because we can't require the disclosure of that. And so ultimately what you can have is someone that says, well, we're unwilling to disclose the cost.
Yeah, that's where we ran into a back and forth on this issue with our contract with Bureau Veritas. They're reading, this might be something that we go back and renegotiate with them. They view that reading as being restricted, that restriction only applying to residential dwellings, not to all construction. And so they make a distinction between residential multifamily on one side and residential on the other, where residential, you can't use valuations on commercial multifamily.
So if you break down subsection D, a municipality may not require the disclosure of information related to the value or cost of constructing or improving, then there should be something there. A residential dwelling or the public infrastructure improvements for a subdivision lot or related property development as a condition of obtaining approval for subdivision construction or the acceptance of those. I mean, so.
That residential dwelling is kind of the word that they're using.
A residential dwelling, and then Or, I mean, so then we found ourselves, when we're looking at this contract with Bureau Veritas, where, I mean, look, obviously they've got an interest in protecting their ability to charge their fees because that's how they make money, but I mean, I think that an honest reading of subsection D certainly extends the limitation on disclosure of cost well beyond a residential dwelling to everything else contained there in subsection D, to the point that, I mean, I don't want to take the business from them, but the legislature is clearly, I think, trying to gut the ability of municipalities to charge these fees and limit the amount of money that municipalities can make. And I would not support the reading that is proposed by Bureau Veritas.
Yeah, and so that's been a concern of ours as well. So we were unable, Adrian and I, unable to come up with a scheme that would cover contract costs
Yeah.
without following the contract costs. And so this may get to where we need to break into an executive session on.
I mean, I don't.
So what of.
I mean, what happens is the contract with Bureau Veritas is rendered void to the extent it conflicts with state law. And that's, you know, that's.
Certainly looks that way.
I mean, that's the position, and you look at Bureau Veritas and say, I'm sorry, guys, but we can't contract with you to violate the law. The law's changed, and you either want to change the model with us, or we'll have to look elsewhere. And I mean, that's the pickle that the city's in along with Bureau Veritas.
So what we would probably do then in that case is we would get rid of fee table 1.
Yeah.
And just go with fee table 2. The only difficulty comes into accessory structures. How do you permit accessory structures like pools?
I mean, it's,
And
yeah.
and those sort of things. Where they're such a size where it's required under the International Building Code. Or permits required under the International. There is a size of a gazebo or a shed where it's permits.
Yeah, a 6x10 or something.
Yeah,
like
it's
that.
pretty small.
Is it 6x10? I could not find that because I was
It's
about
on-
to buy one. I was like,
I remember because Adrian, we were talking about it.
But it affects your impervious cover though.
They always, everything always affects your purview, but you don't need a
You
permit.
can change that.
Yeah, okay, we'll talk later. Sorry.
With the vote of
I digress.
Vote of your council members.
You just need to be quiet now, Terrence. Just focus on what we're doing here. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
6x10.
what we need to look at is, and this is so wonky, because under subsection C, you get these 3 things that can
You
be
may
considered.
look at
Well, yeah.
But is it restricted to those things?
You make it, but I mean, I still think it does anyway. I mean, you read the language out of the statute by reading more into it. Yeah, but I mean, so essentially the 3 things you can consider are what, in this case, Bureau Veritas would charge for the services. 2, the hourly rate for the estimated time. And 3, the actual cost assessed by the municipality that provides those services. Okay. Then we go down to subsection E. And what it says is a municipality that opposes a fee for reviewing or processing, shall annually publish the fee and the hourly rate and estimated direct time incurred by municipal employee for a fee calculated under subsection C2.
That's a table 5 is trying to respond to that one.
So, I mean, conceivably, you do those 2 things differently. You can apply C1 for Bureau Veritas and simply say, look, if you want to continue to have a business, you're going to have to fit within this framework. But there's no ability, I think, anymore to analyze based on table 1. But yeah, After that, it's fine.
So we're gonna have to wait before we can approve it.
Well, that might be something we do in an executive session.
So should I make a motion?
Can we go into executive
Okay,
session?
that's fine.
I make a motion that we go into an executive
Session.
session. I cannot even talk.
Okay. And is there a second?
8:07.
I second.
Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Okay, it's 8:41, 8:42, and we are back in session. So we've been dealing with this new ordinance, and we are ready to make a motion.
Okay, so I make a motion that we amend Schedule 3 Building Development and Zoning to what is visible on the screen, which is a revision of Table 1.
Okay, and do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 And is Mike online?
Let me get him here. He just got back in. Mike, can you hear us?
Yes, I say aye.
Okay, and are any opposed? Okay, hearing none, the motion carries. Okay, Nick, second. Okay, so we're gonna move on to the printing services that we've been investigating. So in our office, we each have, well, I don't, but almost everybody has their own printer. And each printer takes different cartridges, and we have office supplies everywhere throughout the office, and it's pretty expensive. And so I started investigating getting just an all-in several months ago. And so recently, Adrian kind of took that over, and we've been talking to two different companies. And I'm going to let Adrian talk for me.
Yeah, so we got 2 quotes from Toshiba and DeWitt and Poth. Our current office costs for strictly printing and leases today is about $243. The quote from Toshiba is about $149.82 a month just for the printer itself. On average, we print about almost 4,000 pages a month here in this office, including court, police, accountant, city clerk, mayor, and utility staff. We expect to spend about $46 in both color and ink. I'm sorry, color ink and black and white. One of the neat features that the Toshiba printer has is this trifold feature, which helps us with our statements. Every month we send our bills, and it takes about 6 hours of folding, 5 to 6 hours of folding. We kind of estimated that into this column here, employee time folding. We'd save ourselves $75 a month. Since this billing task is done once a month, we see this benefiting the city to be about $121. And a DeWitt and Poth did not offer a discount in the inking costs, which puts them above our current rate of printing and operations. So we recommend that we pursue the Toshiba quote found in your packets.
With the 3-year agreement.
Yes.
So with the folding, I mean, does the printer correlate with folding? Why aren't you folding them anymore when you have that savings in cost?
The machine will fold.
Because the Toshiba folds.
Oh, it's
collates it or
Right.
It's got a trifolder.
It has a trifolder.
So, one of the questions I have is, what's the service time guaranteed for Toshiba? Because they're coming out of Austin, I'm assuming.
So they include travel and repair. Our current provider is Dex Imaging. We've,
Sorry,
sounds like you guys know them.
very well, yeah.
And they charge about $40 in repair and supplies and travel. But if you'll see here, the monthly investment, which is that monthly quote, is parts, labor, travel, and supplies, which is the toner, not the paper or staples. I might just mention here why the quote says $142 is because we are taking consideration that we are going to use their first 3,500 copies in ink. So this is roughly equates to $40 in discount.
So currently, the court does over 1,000 copies a month, about 1,100, 1,200. And she would use the copier also. The police would keep their own copy machine in their office, but the rest of us would all use the big machine. As if you've gotten any copies here, you notice that the one color copier has been kind of broken for a long time. And that's what's really motivated me to try and, it was like, okay, we need a new color machine to look professional.
Well, my question really was, when you do these leases, it's always the guaranteed service time is how long before they actually come and service the equipment. Like, cause this is where they get you, you know what I mean? It's like, whether it's just, do they call you within X number of hours? Or what's the guarantee of actually them going to be here? And if the machine can't be fixed, there should be something in the clause that said they're going to put a temporary machine.
So
build it.
their representative had mentioned that their office is based in Kyle, Toshiba office.
They have a service operation in Kyle.
Right, so they don't expect. I don't remember a exact timeline of when they expect to repair, but if they're close enough, they mentioned that.
That's not the issue. I know where you're getting at. The issue is, when they do this, is your contract should say in there that they have to be here within X number of business hours once you place a service call. Otherwise, you'll just have a service rep call you and go, what's wrong? Yeah, okay, I'll order a part. And then 3 days later, he shows up. It's in the contract somewhere. I just caution you before you guys sign stuff like this. This is the scam that they all play. This is the business we were in. Dorothy knows, because she was an assistant to one of these reps that
Yeah,
sold this stuff.
what you have here is basically a marketing brochure, not the contract.
It's something you have to look at before you sign it. It's a very, very big little screwball that if they can't fix the machine within so much time, they have to put a loaner in the office.
Okay.
Because it will happen. And the miller's like, well, we'll get the part. Coming out of Japan, it's coming out of somewhere.
It's a good call. It's a good call.
Well, Toshiba's, to be honest with you, is not the crust of, like, the Toshiba is not in any print shop in the United States. Not that you guys need a printer that's in a print shop, but I'm just letting you know, Toshiba is not, it's a Hyundai of the, it's the Hyundai of the printer.
Hey, man.
I'm just saying, man, it's not a GM truck, okay?
Sure, my Hyundais. This is my Hyundai.
The city of Martindale loves GM trucks and Hyundais and Toshibas.
All equally.
That's a good question. Length of time to repair.
Was there? Do you know of
What standards should we be looking at?
right
Or 4 business hours.
For business owners, okay.
for business hours?
4 business hours, and not a phone call if someone's gonna be here. If it's gonna be long, I mean, you gotta know.
Yeah.
That's the thing, is they'll just give you some excuse. But as a rule of thumb, when I'm in UPS orders, 4 business hours, I have to be on site. If the printer was not fixed within another day, So you will not get a contract that good probably, okay?
The
But-
UPS stores.
But yeah,
And then for that amount, did you say it included the ink or it does not?
So yes,
Does.
why it's reduced is because it includes those 3,500 pages printed,
are they assuming the first 3,500 black and white or the first 3,500?
black and white, black and white.
3,500 black and white.
It's in the table
Yeah.
next to the.
I mean, your clip charts aren't great, but the color is actually not bad, but the black and white's not great.
Our current,
Just
I can-
does it print 11 by 17?
11 by
That's a
7.
good question.
Would be helpful.
Well,
Should
you gotta
does.
charge this, they'll charge you double click.
Toshiba should.
So our
I don't
current
know if that system would, this is pretty small.
one by the utility first, the rate for black ink is
That was,
0.008 cents. Toshiba is 0.01 cent. However, printer 3, the one I use and Letty uses, is about 4 cents for black ink.
Yeah.
These two printers are very inefficient.
Yeah, no, no. Usually black and white should be in the 0.7, 0.7, not, 1, but that's not a great click chart. So the other question is, if you 11 by 17, is it double? Is it double or not? So just something you should know. Because they'll
Helpful
they'll
knowledge.
screw you on stuff like that, or they'll charge you a lot more.
it may not even print 11 by 17.
Check that.
It probably doesn't.
That'd be beneficial, especially for
Or the maps.
maps, yeah. Or any site plans.
So a lot of like the Konica Minolta is the same box size. What they do is it's the same box size. They'll do 11 by 17, and then they actually have banner printing, which you actually can run 12 wide by 60 inch paper through it.
They had mentioned about supplying one of those, but the rate's a lot higher. And I'm just not sure if we're printing out enough maps or banners that
No, I don't think
in the city's interest.
No, I agree.
So cool.
It's cool, yeah.
So is somebody gonna make a motion on which one to go, or are we gonna table it?
I'm amazed that there's a printing company called Dubit Oath and Son. That's a throwback thing.
Come on, one of you guys make a motion today.
No, you're on the roll, dude.
No,
You obviously know way more about this stuff than we do.
Yeah,
so-
we can do more research if you want.
And you just put all kind of doubt in me with everything you just said. I'm
Yeah.
like, tabled it, or,
We can bring back the contract. We can bring back the actual contract. Go back to them and say, hey, we tentatively selected your offer. Come back with a contract for review.
I squeeze them on the time. that
so I
they
wanna make a
service.
motion, I'm gonna make a motion to table, the action, on, to accept or deny printing services until we have more information.
A second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any more discussion? Okay, all in favor of tabling this, please say aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? Okay, so the motion carries.
Appreciate you guys.
Okay, 3.5. We need a motion to accept or deny joint election services agreement with Caldwell County for the May election.
I'm gonna make a motion to accept a joint election services and agreement with Caldwell County for the November 2024 uniform elections.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
A second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Is there any more discussion about it?
Is it that standard $10,000 cost or for the election? What's the cost?
It depends on what's the supplies used and what's the church rates is.
And it depends, like if San Marcos has something on there as
San
well.
What we've seen on historically is about $3,000 for election costs for one election.
Depends on how many people are on the ballot.
Okay.
Yeah, the budget, we have quite a bit of money on the budget. We have 10, right?
8.
8?
I think it's 8.
Eight.
We've done-
It was 8.
Well, he'll tell you. I thought it was 8.
12.
Oh, 12.
Wow.
Oh, both wrong.
I think where our surplus was last year.
Okay,
Yeah, 8 because we didn't have, it was budgeted as 8. We didn't have it.
We didn't have, yeah.
No,
We had one, but we didn't, oh, that's
We
right.
haven't had election costs in the last
Just
2
one
years.
year.
right.
Did we not have an election last year?
No, it was
And
on, I ran out of.
Oh, that's right, that's right. We did have an election, but we ran. Oops.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay, the motion carries. Okay, moving on to 3.6. Motion to accept or deny to hold the city's annual citywide cleanup on Saturday, April 20th.
So I'm gonna, if I can, because I know these two will have to happen, so I'm gonna make a motion to accept, to hold the city annual citywide cleanup on Saturday, April 20th. And then also 3.7 to hold the city's 4th of July parade on Thursday, July 4th.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll make the second.
Okay,
Did it all.
and is there any discussion about either one of these? Okay, all in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. And do I have a motion to
I make a motion that
adjourn?
we adjourn at 8:57 PM on January 4th, 2024.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second.
And all in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay, motion carries.